I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought at night just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Woo!
Hello!
Hello!
And welcome to Season 36, Episode 10 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. My name is Kimmy.
My name is Riley.
And my name is Vixie.
In today's episode, Vyrrk asks about GM feedback, Steve in SoCal replies to our comments about Clerics and Warlocks being the same, and from the archive 2023, Arrya from New Jersey asks about running a city campaign. If you'd like to contribute a question or topic to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Or you can post in the mailbag channel in the Discord, which is at happyjacks.org/discord. Either one works. Both are great. Send content. It's fantastic. Announcements. We are doing some updates to the Patreon. I posted a poll, so if you're a Patreon supporter, please go check it out. And click the one question. It's a multiple choice, one question, very easy. Click the thing you like, and then done. The backlog is back up for Patreons, and we are considering making all the rewards available to all the tiers, and just letting people back at any level they can afford, because it's kind of feeling shitty to have only the best stuff at the highest level, especially with the world being what it is today. So that's what we're considering. We're considering just making everything available to all the monetary supporters. Sorry, free supporters like that. I don't know why Patreon did that, but okay. But then so if you support at the $4 level, you get all the same rewards as the people at the $20 level, and it's just kind of you do what you can. So that's what we're asking about in the one poll question. That is a multiple choice question. Is the easiest thing I could possibly make it. Please go check it out and hit a response on it. Also, we are back to recording Nerding Out episodes. So that's our kind of hangout show where we have a topic and whoever shows up just kind of talks about that topic for a while. We have one on costuming, just in general that we did. We've done some on different shows. We have a bunch of them coming up, so we're very excited about them, and we'll be posting those as well on the Patreon. Indie Designer of the Month. We have a new Indie Designer of the Month for November. It is Ross Payton, him, from Roleplaying Public Radio. And he was a guest on the show for for episode 8 of this season. You can find his work by searching for Slang Design on DriveThruRPG or by supporting him on patreon.com/rppr. Today's game that we're talking about is Base Raiders. Every superhero and villain disappeared a year ago. Some of their secret labs, headquarters, and lairs were found, but many more remain hidden. Treasures, unique artifacts, and secret knowledge can be found on the bases. Prizes worth risking death from the traps or the guardians left behind. A new class of base raiders has emerged to find and loot the abandoned bases. The secrets of gaining superpowers spread when the base raiders sold, traded, or gave away what they found. Now, anyone brave or foolish enough to find the black market can buy a knockoff super soldier drug or a magical artifact to use in their own quest to become more than human. Base Raiders is a complete Fate 3.0 role-playing game, and it features a base creation system that easily generates unique and exciting bases to raid. A base can be a setting for an adventure or the goal itself. Create traps, populate the base with guards, and throw in competing base raiders. A superpower system that allows characters to add, change, and remove powers. You may find new ways to give yourself more powers, but how will they interact with your existing ones? And a goal system, so your character can change the world. Instead of advancing your character after an adventure, you can invest in a goal that will affect the game world in some way right then. And you can get this in PDF form for $15 on DriveThruRPG.
I like the
So
idea of... Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was saying superpowers that are grocery store generics. So this is the Raider Joe's brand.
Yeah.
No, the Raiders Joe's.
Raider
oh God. I see. For me, like I was saying earlier, I was like, my, the knockoff super soldier drug that came from Timu or Shein.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, here's your wish metas. Yeah.
yes.
Amazing.
We have a new blend of pumpkin spice superpowers this
Oh, God.
it's Thanksgiving time, so
Or it's just like a bottle of glitter. Like they
Yeah.
like advertise it as like a super soldier drug, and it's just like a placebo.
Yeah.
everything but the meta. Yeah, that's the
Yes.
Oh my gosh, fantastic. Amazing. I can't Raider Joe's has me. Like, you have the brain tonight, Riley. Like, amazing. Okay.
I got one in. That's good.
It's so good.
Yeah,
Now I
It's
can
such a good
coast, I
one,
can
though.
coast on the rest of the night. Yeah.
Like, even if
Heck
you only get
yeah.
one, that's a
Yeah,
great one
fair.
to get.
Yes.
Raider Joe's would also be a fun like Fallout location. Like
Oh my god.
Oh my
Yes.
we
God.
only sell organic red roach meat over here.
Done. Oh my God.
All right. All right, mailbag number 1. Vixie, do you want to read this one?
Yes, I do, and I even have a voice to go for it. Let's see if I remember what that voice was, though.
It was Matt Berry.
Yes, thank you. Hello, Empress Kimmy and the Jack of Court. Story time. I've been running games for a core group of friends for over a decade. Recently, one of those players decided to try GMing for the first time. Hooray! We all
Hurrah!
encouraged him, and he's doing
See,
great.
I'm sorry, I have to correct him. If it's a court, we have to say huzzah.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Yeah.
Also, because of the accent, when you said core group, it sounded like you said a cool group of friends.
Core and cool. They're cool
Yeah.
now. They weren't cool, like, back in the day, maybe not, but and he, of course, he's going through the usual first-time GM stuff, like being a bit quick to say, no, you can't try that. But overall, it's been a solid experience. After one session, I was joking around with another player offline and said, wow, he sure told me no a lot last night. The player replied, honestly, he gave us a lot more than you usually do. I can feel that burn from here. Ow. That hit me right in the gut. I wasn't expecting it. I guess it's time to go back and re-listen to some of my own games and reflect on how I can say yes more often. Mirrors can be hard, but sometimes you need to see yourself through someone else's eyes. So here's my question. What piece of gaming feedback hit you the hardest? And how did it help you grow as a player or GM? Sincerely, Vyrrk from Happy Jacks. Sorry, Vyrrk. Just the beginning made me
It's
want to do
great.
it in that
It's
voice.
great.
So,
No, I love it.
Oh, that's also so hard. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's very clear, like, your friend didn't mean to, like, it's
Yeah.
just like it's just a thing. Sometimes people say stuff and then they kind of, oh shit, I didn't mean it like that. Yeah.
And even like the setup, I love Vyrrk, we all love Vyrrk, but I think
Mhm.
being the previous GM and like kind of criticizing even playfully the new GM does kind of open the door for like comparison between the two. So like there's a
Yeah.
little bit of already like, maybe you shouldn't dish it out if you can't take it back a little bit. So because I say that as someone who is very guilty of these exact same kind of exchanges myself. So
Yes.
I recognize my own mistakes in this comment. But yeah, I think I definitely especially early on in actual plays when I like really was trying to push more from like, oh, I'm telling a dramatic story more than I'm just playing a role-playing game.
Mhm.
I think I definitely like I had a GM say, well, I love that you're passionate about your character, and I could definitely tell there was like that was a kind way of saying something very like that I was being a little bit like too controlling of the narrative, and so that was like I really had to like reconsider some things about that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
Hmm. So-
It's hard for me because I'm trying to decide, like, do I say the thing that like came from like a stranger? Because like that, I was a young GM at the time. I hadn't really done it very much. So it felt very biting at the time, but like after a while, I was like, I don't even fucking know. It's a rando at a con. Who cares?
Yeah.
Or is it like the thing my friend said in like a kind way that like almost like that this still sits with me. Like I'm gonna be 82 years old someday, and like my like
Still thinking of it.
TTRPG nursing home, thinking like, oh, I can't believe that I let them down so badly in that one session of that game 500 years ago. You know what I mean?
And like no one else has ever thought about it for a second since then. but
Never. Yeah. And I know the person who said it to me like wasn't even thinking about it. So I don't know. Vixie, do you have yours in mind yet?
There's so many experiences, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm my own worst critic. So
Yeah.
like typically like there's nothing anyone could say to me that I either haven't already said to myself or said a worse version of. But I think probably one of the like I'm trying to think of like my experiences as a GM and the kinds of feedback that been given. And honestly, like when I first started GMing, I had pacing issues. So I would say like, okay, the game's only going to run for this amount of time, and then it would be twice as long because I didn't
Mm.
balance the combat correctly, or something took way longer than I thought, and I didn't think like I could cut off the game here and we can play another session, you know, things like that would happen to me quite a bit. So I remember those notes a lot. Those stuck with me. And I think as a player too, I also had the same problem with wanting to be too controlling of the narrative because again, I was focused on storytelling, not like game
Yeah.
mechanics. And then as I progressed as a player, I began learning like what player mechanics mean and how to share space with others at the table, you know? But yeah, like those are probably the ones that hit the hardest and that hit the hardest. And I mean, I did have a player who was really mean to me and they were very toxic. And they
Oh.
said some pretty nasty things that scarred me. Like, I didn't know how to play. It was D&D at the time because I was learning D&D. They told me that I didn't know how to play, that I sucked at playing the game, and like actually pushed so hard that they ended up like the GM ended up like having a private session with me because I didn't grasp them in the mechanics well enough, and so I ended up in remedial D&D because this player, and I mean, the reason this player had so much pull is because she was married to the GM. So that's
Ah,
why
okay.
this situation ended
Oh.
up happening. It was one of those.
Ouch.
And like when I think of like the worst experience that could possibly happen, that is probably why I'm so hypercritical of myself when I GM, just in general, because I had that awful experience. And it was like, yeah, that's, so but yeah, so like whether it's tough to have to get criticism, but that probably hit me the hardest. I would say that experience hit me the hardest. Was
Yeah.
not the best experience, but it has made me hyper aware of like mechanics and how I play games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
And it's so hard because you're already feeling so like on the spot with that and so much responsibility for that as a GM anyway.
yeah.
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 Well, and that was my first D&D table too. So it was
Oh,
very much like that was like my first experience. And like it was terrible. I was like, okay, never forgetting mechanic again.
yeah, and that's like
Um,
such a bad like way to GM too, because like most people, like I DM a lot. I know a lot about D&D at this point. I also don't know a lot about D&D because there's always a rule that I don't understand or something that I'm not expecting because the books are hundreds of pages long and full of rules. So it's like I've never ever been at a table where every single person at the table knew all the rules and were experts on them and stuff like that. And I have run games for people who are brand new to the game with experienced players at the table. I've run games for all inexperienced players. I've run games for experienced players, and every single step of the way, somebody at some point in a game has to check rules, whether I'm playing or whether I'm DMing. It has to happen at some time. So like it is very possible for a DM to do quote unquote remedial D&D at the table with players and make it like inclusive and make it like warm and welcoming, as opposed to being like, I'm gonna give you that's out of class time to make you
yeah.
learn to play this game. Like that is a poor choice of managing a situation on the behalf of that DM,
Yeah.
I think, in
It,
my opinion. Like I'm glad, I hope that you have like finally stopped internalizing that, because obviously
oh
you're a much
yeah.
more skilled player nowadays. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
anything, I will
That's
say, like, on the topic of how it helped me grow as a player and a GM, it actually, you ever have, sometimes you have experiences that are so bad that it becomes a case of, here's what not to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that landed. Like, after, because that was a whole experience that I had to recover from, once I left that table. But ultimately, it has made me more mindful of like the players at my table as a GM. And it's funny because right now I'm teaching a system Cypher to a group of players who've never played before. And like I just try to be as patient as I can and go through them step by step, because the system itself is not hard to learn, but I understand why it can be confusing and where people can get hung up. So I just walk them through very patiently and try not to make them feel dumb, because every question is valid. You've never played this before, so of course you're not going to know how things work, right? And I think back to that experience and try to make it better, like try to create a better one. So I think that's how I've internalized and incorporated that. I'm still insecure a little bit, but it's definitely not as bad as it was before, because thankfully, like I'm now at tables with supportive and wonderful people who we're all here to tell a story and have fun, you know. But yeah, so that's what I would say there. Like that would be where my growth came. And as far as pacing goes, I have learned that it is okay to end the game on a cliffhanger. That is not
Yes.
a crime. So
Great. It's like the best strategy ever.
It's great. Yeah.
yes.
Go-to
Is this
move.
battle about to happen? Have you gone for 3 hours? And it's over. Oh, you'll have to wait for the battle next session.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll
it
pick up
looks-
there next time. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the best.
And it looks so
Yes.
planned. It's like,
Yes.
that was diabolical. I can't believe you planned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That took some doing, let me tell you.
It's like that meme
Big
where your
brain
notes just say
thinking.
"sexy goblin?" ? And you're like, I've got the whole thing planned out. Yeah.
Yes.
I will say, if you want to grow as a GM and learn how to like take bad feedback and not internalize it too much, start GMing for kids, because you will get some feedback that you were not ready for, and it is rough. It is real rough to start a game and have a kid, I don't know, this morning say, "I don't really want to be here." And that's the beginning of your 2-hour game with kids, is to find out that a kid has a thing he'd rather be doing and is not happy that he's at the game table that you're at currently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The brutal honesty of like they don't call me Miss Kimmy, but like, "Oh, Miss Kimmy, good morning. I don't like that sweater. Your hair looks really puffy today.
Yeah.
Are you tired? You look very tired today." I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
God.
Why do you keep rubbing your temples?
Yeah. Like, wow. And they just say,
Why are you crying?
yeah, exactly. Like,
Like,
oh,
Did someone hurt you?
yeah.
Yeah, someone did, kid.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The brutal honesty.
Yeah.
So the one I decided the one I'm going to share is actually, I'm not going to say who said it, because it is someone who is still a very dear friend and on the Happy Jacks crew. It was one of the games that I ran on stream, so it was one of the actual plays that some of you may have actually listened to or watched. We'd finished the campaign, and I was just feeling so great, and it was just like amazing. And this person came, like, it was just like a throwaway comment. Like, we were hanging out after the I think it wasn't after the show, but like we hung out together later, like we went to lunch the next day or something like that. And at one point the person said, "Yeah, I just didn't have like a lot of fun. You're so good at describing stuff, but I just felt like nothing meant anything because it was clearly not planned. You were improvising it." And I just like felt so like gutted about that, because I was so proud of the job I'd done, and everyone seemed to enjoy it, and they told a great story, and they never said anything for the whole time. And it was just one of those things where I felt like guilty, because I felt like I'd wasted their time, but also like, had they just been pretending to have fun this whole time?
Yeah.
And it was just like, they didn't mean it in like a bad way. It was just like their personal preference with games, which is fine. But I wish at some point that had been communicated ahead of time, or like we swap players out for their work schedules change or things like that all the time. So it's like, if they weren't really having fun, then I wish they'd said something, because it's like, oh, okay, well, I can try and plan a little bit more, or, we could swap you out for somebody else, and just, we've had people have things like that before, and then we came up with reasons, and sometimes it is like a lot of times, or they move, or like things happen in life and we switch out players all the time.
Job changes, they can't, not available anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, it wouldn't be like a weird thing to have happen in our actual play campaigns. So it's just like a strange thing, and they're still a very dear friend of mine, and I don't know. So it felt very strange to suddenly have that be like the little like bookend to that campaign that I was so proud of. So I don't know. I don't know if that affected my GMing because I still very much have an improv GM. I think I'm a little more in tune with making sure that my players are okay with that. As I play, like, hey, are you feeling like this is meaningful? Is this fulfilling to you as a player? You know, is your character kind of getting what you want? And things like that. So that probably, I probably am a better GM for that piece. So, but it's a little bit like a little knife in the heart. And you're just, okay.
It's like,
So,
ow, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
yeah.
Yeah. It always hurts in the moment, but I think it's good when you take that feedback and you sort of look at yourself and like how you do things and you're like, okay, how can I fix it? You know,
Mm-hmm.
granted, with any kind of feedback, you want to always take it with a grain of salt. Make sure who is it coming from? You know, because in my case with the remedial D&D, this person actually didn't like me and had wanted to get rid of me for a long time. But
Oof.
I,
Yeah.
being a person who really wanted to like be good at D&D, thought that it was all for the best and really, you know, focused. So again, who is it coming from? Is it constructive? And really take a look
Yes.
and with a critical view and say, is this something that I have a problem with? And being willing to do that get allows you to make that like why the wisest choice in the situation. Is it something that you need to change, or is it something that maybe you need to work on? Is it what's a pain point or a point of improvement or whatever language
Yeah.
exists to say it,
Yeah.
you know, to say it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because similarly, early on in my gaming career of actual plays, I had a person who kept being very critical of me in ways that really made me start to second guess everything I was doing and like worry that I was doing a bad job all the time and like constantly I would have like off it was on a different channel just to point that out but I would have like off camera like conversations with them after every game that would just be like these like Facebook messages that would just go on for hours and like here's
Oh.
what's wrong and like I really felt like I was doing a bad job and then later on I ended up DMing a game that this player was in, and the producer of the show emailed me or to reached out to me to be like, "Hey, this player is undermining you a lot, and everybody else is commenting on it to each other." Like, and it was one of those things where like I wish that it turned out that all the frustrations I was having with this DM, all the other players were also having, but no one was communicating that to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was since I was still very new, I very much internalized it all as I'm doing a bad job and I'm making the show bad.
Yeah.
Whereas it
Yep.
turned out everybody else was also frustrated, but no one was telling each other that. And so I thought I was the problem. It turned out, no, we were all reacting to the same problem, but quietly.
Yeah.
And then when I became the DM and like it was more on my shoulders to try to like steer the boat, I was kind of reached out to by this producer to be like, hey, here's this, what's happening. And we need to like figure out what to do about it. And it turned out, oh, I'm not the problem here. And I'm not saying I've never been the problem because I definitely have been the problem, but it was good to like go, and it made me go, God, I wish that I had the like confidence at the time to speak up more about it and like maybe have had like a group conversation about it instead of it being like constantly me and this person in DMs with nobody else to intercede. And now I'm much more like, you know, whenever I have like a personality clash with somebody on a show, I try really hard to not get into private conversations with them anymore. Like I try now to be like, if there's a producer or like, you know, there's like a person who runs the channel, I'll be like, hey, can we have a group? Like, can we have this conversation with a mediator of some sort? Because I don't want to get stuck in it where I'm just being berated and or if I'm upset, I don't want to be in a situation where like I've let my emotions control me to the point where now I'm confronting somebody in a negative way either.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to have a person who can be like, okay, I'm not as invested in either side of this emotionally, and so I can be the person to kind of weigh in and be a little bit more like peaceful with it. And I think that's really important. So
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think, I mean, it's different for a home table because it's like you and your friends playing. When it's something organized like what we do here, we've had a number of times where there were conflicts and problems and stuff like that. And I've had to do, and sometimes people talk about it before I am like made aware of the problem. But once I'm made aware of the problem, I almost always ask that please don't talk about this. We'll talk about it. And we always try and plan like a date. And if we can, in person, so we can talk about it. And yeah, I think it's really important. And I honestly think, I mean, it's always the best practice, honestly, in personal lives too. If you have a home table and you can have someone be that kind of middle person, like the moderator or just kind of the calming influence or someone to have that outside perspective, it can actually make those conversations much, much more productive. Instead of people just saying their point of view over and over again at each other, there's someone to be like, okay, like this is what I'm hearing from both of you. And that's a big takeaway that I've learned too.
See, for sometimes, because again, back to that first table experience, that doesn't always work, because we actually tried that with that table quite a bit, and like ultimately it broke down. But it's all about, I think at the end of the day, the thing to remember is that safety tools work because they're points of communication. These are items that are like, the reason we have them is because it's a way to make communication at the table easier, to facilitate it, and to have that open dialogue that's necessary for what the games are, which is a form of collaborative storytelling. And like in this case here too, it's very much like, yes, go back and evaluate, but also, you know, I feel like there's comparing yourself to a DM is generally not great, because you're going to make yourself feel bad if that GM is like fantastic in your eyes, or you're just going to, like, to me, hubris is a very real thing. So like you're going to engage in you're going to end up engaging in hubris by saying, I'm so much better than them. Oh, you know, rather, like, the way that I see it is like, wow, they did that thing really good. I'm going to like hold on to that and put that in my pocket and keep that in my tool belt because I like the way they did that. Or something along the lines of, wow, you know what? I don't think I would have made the same choice that GM did. Like, perspectives like that I feel like are a lot more constructive as well, because now you've given yourself something to work on as like a game master or as a player, and potentially even also added something to your tool belt, you know, for you to use in future games, and without like putting yourself on the defensive or making yourself feel bad, or, you know, putting yourself in this weird place of holier than thou-ness, which I've never understood, but we're here. So, you know, it exists.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And even like the thing you said about like going, well, I would never do that, and like putting like I can see why they did it and I wouldn't do it. Even that is still putting something in your tool bag, because you might go, oh, I would never do that, but you at least go, oh, I can see why they did that, or I can see what the need for that would be. And even if you like at one point go, I would never do that, you might find yourself in a year going, you know what? I might revisit that thing that I thought I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
You know, that thing that other DM did that I kind of poo-pooed at the time. Now I've had time to sit about and think about why they did that, and now I am. Or you might go, okay, I've not been in this situation, but I wouldn't handle it how they did. And then you think about how I would handle it, and like, that's fine. And like, every single DM is different, and every single experience of a table is different as filtered through a different DM. And so like, yeah, like the things that you're excited about and interested in aren't gonna be the same thing somebody else is excited and interested in. So you will approach your games differently than they do, and you have to kind of just accept that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, same as like a filmmaker is going to direct a film differently than another filmmaker would, or a screenwriter is going to do different things in their screenplays than another screenwriter would be. You know, a painter is going to paint with different brushstroke style. Like every bit of art you're going to do is going to come from a different point of view, because it's your perspective on it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, hang in there, Vyrrk. You're amazing. You're great. I'm sure your
got
group
this.
loves you. Yeah, and it's exciting that you've inspired this person also to be a GM. So I think that's important to don't forget that. That's really important.
Yeah. And even like this, the actual core issue in this thing about like the GM saying no and like actually gave us more than you have or whatever. Like, there are times when a GM should say no. Like in my opinion, if you know that it's absolutely impossible for them to accomplish a certain task, don't make them roll dice for it, for example. Because I feel like it's so frustrating if you make them roll dice and then they succeed and you're like, well, but still nothing really good happens because of it. Like, so like, I think there are times where like, unless they like either say no or make them really pitch their case of what they're doing and why it can work, because like sometimes the thing has to go a different way, because just like the scenario is that like I run D&D for kids a lot.
Yeah.
And kids want to recruit every single creature they can to join their party. And if I said yes every time, I have to now run 50 NPCs any given moment. And I have a hard time running NPCs in scenes when I always want to spotlight the players. Yeah. So I don't like to have my characters being in the scene having conversation aside from like the thing giving information to the players. So I'm like, I do not want to run 4 or 5 NPCs in any given scene. So I will say no, and I don't feel bad saying no as a DM if it's like, can this goblin join our party?
Yeah.
No, this goblin is here to rob you, and he doesn't want to he doesn't want to go out on adventures. He wants to live in this cave and rob adventurers that come by. He's got a sweet deal going, and you either have to kill him or convince him to let you go. That's what's happening. He's not going to join your party. Like, yeah, no, this dragon is not going to join your party, kids. I'm sorry.
It's so
Well,
funny.
and
It's so
then-
true.
Yeah.
Well, and then you also have like situations that are just genuinely like they're not likely. Like I had a scenario where my party, like my players were underwater, like in an underwater kingdom, and they were investigating something in the ocean, the depths of the ocean on the ocean floor, and they were like, "Oh, well, do we see footprints?" And I was like, "You're in the ocean. The likelihood of footprints actually being here is not great." Like,
Yeah.
because the waves move. This isn't like still water or stagnant water. You're in the literal ocean, and stuff actually lives in the ground. So like, no, it's not likely. Because these ruins were never like they were open to like the elements at this point. So there was just no way there was going to be any kind of like tracks or footprints that could be followed.
Yeah.
And I explained that like here's why that wouldn't work. I didn't even make them roll for it, but like sometimes it's like that. You have to be the person that's like, so unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, but it's not a possible thing for you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
All right.
All right.
Excellent. Mailbag number 2.
This mailbag opens in a very similar way to the last one. I don't know if I'll be able to get through the whole thing with an accent because it's very long, but I have to at least begin with it.
Okay.
To the various lords and ladies of the courts of jovial jackanapes, I offer this tribute of podcast fodder.
Yeah.
The following is a thought triggered in part by the Blast from the Past email on religion in gaming from season 35, episode 9. In the episode, Clara commented something along the lines of, "Clerics and Warlocks are the same except for a PR problem." I think Clara and / or others have made similar comments before, and I think it leads to some potentially fun concepts. I am now curious about a few potential character concepts and or deity / patron concepts that could be kind of fun. 1. Lean into the redacted philosophy and just accept that the trapping / backstory behind powers can be whatever they need be, such that some devotees of a particular power happen to have the cleric powers, while others manifest in a way that looks like a wizard, sorcerer, warlock, fighter, etc. And that rogue or bard over there just happens to be so skillful because of a bargain made with an archfey. This nicely decouples with the splat or fiction from the mechanics so that folks can play the board game however they want, and similarly tell the story they want.
All right. Having Ren Fair flashbacks. Let's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also my voice is, my throat's going, hey, you were sick last week, so let's go ahead and just be a little bit nicer to yourself. Number 2. Something that would need / want to be addressed would be why these powerful beings are granting powers to mortals. Are the deities' powers driven by faith, i.e., more or more sincere worshippers give them more power? Are they fueled by some independent concept, i.e., the god of order might be powered up by a wizard methodically memorizing or repeating certain arcane movements and phrases? Are they fueled by a concept, i.e., the battle lust of a barbarian charges up the god of war or storms? Or are they inherently powerful and just use the players as pawns in their immortal intrigues? 3. No matter the motivation, another fun concept would be a reluctant follower of some deity that is dragged along with a more transactional / forced relationship. Perhaps the character is reluctant in supporting a power, but their feats of renown still earn accolades for their patron anyway. Or perhaps they are just a less than willing pawn being used by their patron / deity. I have a D&D campaign notionally in the works where the players start as unwitting pawns in a game between an archdevil and a powerful wizard, with some other powerful beings, dragon, fairy, nobles, etc., on the sidelines, subtly influencing the game based on their own desires. There's 2 more of these. 5. There have been plot lines in various games about things like certain gods being killed and their followers continuing to worship, but perhaps that worship being redirected to their replacement deity. These death-worshipping cultists don't realize that Bane is dead and Kelemvor is now cashing their worshipful checks, but since those 2 deities have different personalities, the new god does it reluctantly or irritatedly. These cultists are still worshipping death, but they're doing it wrong. They're still putting in their paperwork, but they're using old, outdated forms. They're old TPS reports using Arial versus Calibri. Don't get me started on office font changes. So maybe the old Bane worshippers only get Warlock powers instead of Paladin Cleric powers that the deity grants the folks who are doing it right. I like the construct back in, this is 5, I like the construct back in 4th edition D&D, insert various groans, comments about MMO the RPG, where within the divine classes, there were clerics, paladins, and avengers within those, and within those, there were subclasses that spanned most of the spectrum of potential mechanics. Some were range, some were melee, some were healers, and some were controllers or damagey spellcasters. Some were heavily armored, and some weren't. In fact, when the Splat book with Avengers came out, I retconned my Paladin into one because that was always the archetype I had been trying to shoehorn him into.
Cool.
I could have tried reskinning a Ranger or Rogue into a Divine version at that point, a la 0.1 above, but it was convenient when WotC did it for me for only $29.95. I feel like I've lost lock on my own thread at this point. Parenthetical, the perils of writing it across multiple days and dozens of interruptions by my increasingly less tiny children. Unparenthetical. I guess the long and short of it is, do you have any thoughts or examples on how to play this concept of powers being granted by varyingly benevolent or malevolent beings? I've always loved the concept of Warlock, but I haven't had a chance to see one in action. Thanks as always, Steve in SoCal, the Grimace on Discord finally. P.S. Now these things are even getting added to Discord posts, not even emails. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like it.
I kind of wish I'd been here with Clara because Clara and I have very wildly opposing point of views on D&D in general.
Yeah.
I don't agree that clerics and warlocks are the same. I get on the core, like, yes, they get their powers from a being, but I think that as a like concept and how you play them in the game, they're very different.
Yes.
But I do like a lot, and I don't want to get too into an old conversation. There's a lot of points here to hatch, but this is actually like interesting to me because I also really like to play, like, I don't feel like there's a specific way you have to play a warlock or a cleric, right? I've brought this up many times on this show, so I'm not gonna like go too deep into it, but I have played a cleric who is a cleric of an evil god, and she didn't per se love that god. Her magic wasn't like, she wasn't a cleric out of like, oh, I have dutiful worship for this god. She came from a society that was like, it was Umberly, and her character concept was, oh, I based her on the Islanders from Game of Thrones, and the idea of like this like drowned god, like this harsh god, and it was like, oh, she's from an area of the world where the sea is always trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And so that's why Umberly is their god, because they're like, the sea is out to get us. The bitch god wants us dead all the time.
Yeah.
And so somebody has to worship her so she won't try to kill all of us.
Yeah.
And so, like, my character was playing it that way of, like, she never played it as, like, oh, you should give your love to Umberly. When she proselytized, she would say, you have to fear Umberly or she will kill you, so you better pay her tribute. And that was like how she proselytized. And it was very fun to play it that way. It's very fun to play a character who was a cleric, a priest of this god, who played it as this god will freaking kill you if you don't show her fealty.
Yeah.
So please, please, please join me in worshiping her so that she won't kill us all at sea.
Right.
And like that's and like that is like a different way of playing a cleric than being like, well, Lathander is the light and everything, and Lathander will do good things for all of us, and Lathander, I'm your #1 fan, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have you heard the
so
word?
that is, yeah, exactly. So I think that's like kind of like my distillation of a lot of what's happening here is like, it is very tough in D&D, especially because if you really get into the nitty-gritty of it, even wizards are clerics because Mystra is a god and all magic comes from a god of magic.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, then isn't everybody a cleric at that point? So that's why, like, I think that, like, D&D does, fortunately / unfortunately, the mechanics hit first and then the flavor is free.
Yeah.
So you do kind of have to go off of, like, yes, clerics and warlocks both get their powers from a being, but yes, warlocks are much more a bargain, which is why warlock abilities are so much more pick what you want to use. And like Davia Mack is saying in the chat, warlock powers are transactional. It's like very much like, I have agreed to do a pact with you, and as a result, I get these powers. Whereas clerics are like, you're so good at loving me, you get everything. And like, you know, and it is
It's
something to be said
two
about
different kinds of
clerics' powers
relationships.
are divine, and warlocks are not typically divine. They're typically fey or I guess you could say old ones are divine, but still, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a different kind of relationship. Yes.
Yeah, it's funny because I've played both a cleric and a warlock, and to me
Yeah.
the difference is in that like relationship. So, my very first character was a cleric, knowledge cleric, and I love her to death. But the concept behind her was actually really interesting. So you're playing in a homebrew world, and I asked the GM, okay, but what if she's the cleric for the wrong god?
Mm.
And so she's actually been worshiping a god that she actually was never the cleric of, and was never the god, like that god was never one that whose favor she had. And throughout the course of the story, she begins to discover who the god is that she's actually the cleric of. And I thought that was a very interesting journey. There's a lot of religious trauma around her. There's other elements at play, like plot elements, but that was one of the core concepts behind her. And I thought that was really interesting, that sort of discovery, the discovery of faith and
Yeah.
making that faith unshakable, right?
Yeah.
But and when with my warlock, like full disclosure, my warlock was a Vecna. That was
Nice.
her patron. And
Nice.
she was like she was my only evil character. She was actually evil, but like, and she had a contract with Vecna. And like that was her whole, like her relationship to Vecna was so vastly different than my clerics to her god. Like she walked the line of constantly getting killed because she would just shy of disrespectful, just push that limit of like, is this like, how far can I go before you actually kill me? Like, so, and that's kind of like, for me, that's kind of the litmus between clerics and warlocks, is that the difference in like the nature of the relationship between them, where to me it's not, I wouldn't say that like a cleric's relationship to their god is always benevolent. Sometimes it's really not.
Yeah.
But at the same time it's a very different relationship than with a warlock,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
to me, um I would say, like, I think the way I've heard it before is that it's two different kinds of toxic relationships. If that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's
but,
not always like represented in the mechanics, but from my
Mhm.
point of view, and the thing that all like we've talked about on the show some, but like the element of faith, like technically, if you have a paladin or if you have a cleric and you lose faith, you should also lose your powers.
Yeah.
Yep.
That doesn't happen in a warlock because you're not going to lose faith.
Yeah.
Because you know I did the bargain. You have my soul or whatever,
Yeah.
and now I have
Yeah.
the powers. And I know you exist. We've had conversations. I mean, it's also a little weird to like lose faith in a god that you probably have talked to also if
Yeah.
you're in D&D. But like that's part of what it is. Like you need to have that sense of purpose for the service of your god or their orders or
Yeah.
whatever it is, even if you don't like them. Like you're like the Storm Queen. Oh, we have to do this because I feel like we have to get her, worship her so that she won't kill us all. Like you have a because you had faith that was going to happen, and I think that's to me the biggest delineation line between those two relationships.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that clerics' power, like it got mentioned in the chat, the difference between wizards and clerics is like wizards don't need to like follow the rules of Mystra, but they just need to know how magic works and they can use it. I think
Yeah.
that could be also true of clerics because it depends on how that's D&D muddies the waters this a little bit.
Yeah.
But like for example, in the Ravnica setting, which is from Magic, but they made a D&D sourcebook, there aren't gods,
Mhm.
but you can have clerics. And so in that situation, the cleric's power is fueled not by the being itself, but just by their faith. And the amount, like, so like, that's where like originally the order cleric came from, like the idea like you believe in the law and your belief in the law is so powerful that you are fueled magically by it. And so like there is a thing to be said about like, yeah, if you lose faith, like if you like start to, if like you might lose faith in your god, not so much in like I don't think they exist, but like maybe they're not as good as I think they are, and maybe they're not as good. And like that, losing that fate is what makes your power flicker a little bit. Or like a paladin not following your pact. If I'm a DM and my players are playing a paladin and they're not following their pact, I will make their I'll start doing wild magic surges and stuff on them when they're using their power. Like I'll have fun with it.
Yeah.
And warlock too. Like if it's not the soul, but you have a pact for a certain thing, and you break that pact, you could lose your powers as well because you're like, I'm not following the deals of the contract I signed, and as a result, my powers are forfeit. Like there's ways to do that, and like, but I feel like for me the difference between a warlock and a cleric a lot of times is that the driving push towards the faith and power is coming from yourself. It's coming from how you feel and how you're driven and how you're fueled. Whereas the warlock is very much driven by this external deal that you made with somebody, and they are giving you this ability because you agreed to do it and you signed the contract and you have it now. Whereas I think paladin and cleric are both like it's all about how you feel, baby girl. So
Yeah, for sure.
I
think
will
one-
say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kimmy.
So I think one of the interesting things about that too is with the warlock, there is a contract. So both ends are on the hook for it.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, there's a little bit of like vibes and feels. And how is our relationship doing with like the cleric side of things? Like the god might walk away, the person could walk away. Like on the warlock side, that is not how it works. So I made this deal with you. As long as I'm upholding that deal, even if I am screwing you over in every other way, especially if it's like Fae or something like that, like there can be some really great dynamics that you can do there where that your patron just hates you.
Yeah.
You are doing so much damage to your patron, but as long as you are following the letter of that contract, like they can do nothing about it. So it's like, it's like someone who takes their dog for a walk on the leash and suddenly the dog starts walking the person, they're dragging them along. Like, there's a fun dynamic that can happen there too, which I really like.
Yeah, I know you bounced off Baldur's Gate 3, but I think Baldur's Gate 3 does a really good job of depicting a patron/warlock relationship with Will and his fiend patron. Because Will is definitely a lawful good type of character, but he is following a fiend that he made a deal with, and they have this very toxic, abusive relationship throughout the game. And there's points in the game where the deal is being changed, and it's not just her being like, oh, I'm done with this. Like, she summons up other devils to be like, okay, we're overseeing this rule, and we're both agreeing that if you do this now, this is going to be the change. Like, we are both sides of this contract, and there's like a literal hellish contract that appears, and it's very much based on, okay, according to this clause in this contract, if you do this thing for me, then you will be free from this pact at the point when this time happens or whatever. And like, I love it. They like depict it as that. And like, how he's like he can't talk about his pact at first because his contract forbids him from doing so.
Yeah.
And only until she says, I will let you talk about your contract, does he allowed to do it. And like, there's a lot of that kind of fun stuff in there. So I think that the thing about that it all comes down to in D&D with all these classes is how much you as a DM want to role play it versus how much you just want it to be like, that's the class you've got. Like with subclasses with bards, like, do you want them to have gone to an actual college of this thing that they're studying? Or like, and like, I'm the kind of DM that I don't in character like when people refer to their classes as like their player. Like, I don't like when someone says like, I'm a capital B bard. Like, I think like bard's probably the worst example because a bard is like a literal job you can have being a bard. But like, I don't like when people say like, okay, this is our rogue, and this is our wizard, and this is our sorcerer in character. For me, it's like, I think most D&D characters wouldn't know the difference between a sorcerer, a wizard, a warlock. They're all mages. And just like, we have power, we don't know where our power comes from always. Or like most people would just see a mage.
Absolutely. Also, just because bard is a common noun, so it wouldn't be capitalized.
Yes.
Except if you were talking about a class. So I like that you like capitalized it correctly. Riley. Well done.
Yeah.
You can tell you're a writer.
So like for me, it's like, would you know, if you were in a world of D&D, would you actually think of a bard and like a wizard as being, or sorcerer as being like two different kinds of spellcasters? Or would you just be like, oh, this guy learned they can do magic through their music and they've like pushed that to a certain level? Like wizards, maybe the easiest because like usually if you are a wizard, you have literally studied at magic school. But like, I think that like, I don't think people are always thinking monks are monks. I think like there are cases where that is a lowercase version of that, but that's how I tend to roll it. So
Yeah, that's part of the narrative versus like you could probably make a case for wizards and sorcerers within the narrative, depending on how your mythos is structured. But like the rest of the classes, but like, and I will say like it's interesting with the with the warlock thing. There is, and I read this in the book. You can be chosen by your patron whether you want to be or not, and that does make it similar to what happens with the cleric. Because your patron can just decide, you know what, that guy will work, yoink, and then like, you end up on like a, do you want to make a deal? like,
Yeah.
or you end up making a deal without thinking about it, or you're stuck with this sort of like, oh, I can either be slaughtered by Vecna or just agree to his demands. I would like to live. That'd be
Yeah.
a great thing, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff like situations like that, which I think is interesting. But conversely, you also have the Celestial Warlock in D&D as
Mhm.
well, which is more divinely aligned, and I think that's where like the line can start to blur a little bit. Granted,
Yeah.
I don't think you can contract with an actual deity. You usually can contract with like a lesser deity or a solar or something, if I recall correctly. But
Yeah,
like,
like an angel.
yeah, like an angel basically. Because I think the one time I had a celestial warlock at my table, they were contracted to a solar that had fallen, or something like that. But yeah, so
Yeah.
the line can get blurry, but you're never actually contracting with a deity in the same sense as
Yeah.
like as a cleric would be, you know?
I could even see if you did make it a deity, I could see a deity like reaching out to their warlock and being like, "Hey, I know you're not like one of my faithful, but you're someone I need help with to accomplish this task. So I'm going to offer you these other powers that are my celestial warlock powers, basically. Like what they again, they wouldn't
Oh
say my
yeah.
celestial warlock powers, but like I'm gifting you some abilities that you can use, so you'll have some radiant abilities and stuff like that, and like." Then it might be like, yes, I'm a follower of a god. I'm working for a god, but I'm not that god's faithful. Like that,
Yeah.
I think that's possible. It could be used in an interesting way.
I bet you're wondering how I ended up contracted to a deity.
Yeah.
That's how we open.
It'd be like Moon Knight, or it's like like suddenly
Yeah.
you realize you're
Yes.
working for a god because your other
Yes.
half is working for a god. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. So good.
Aw,
Yeah.
It's
wow.
funny because like I also when you started talking Vixie, I laughed. I apologize, but like
No,
I
you're
got this
fine.
thing because Riley was talking about how when she has like sorcerers and wizards, how would people know? And like immediately I was like, oh no, they're like the doctors of the fantasy world. Hi, I'm a wizard.
Oh yeah,
Like,
you're right.
The first thing they
Careful.
say when I would, hi, my name's Bob and I'm a doctor. Hi, my name's
Yes.
Steve and I'm a wizard.
Wizards hate sorcerers the way like doctors hate chiropractors. Like
Yeah.
it's not actually
It's not
practicing
the
magic.
same.
It's just like
You just have
it's
this
holistic.
whole-
Yeah.
yeah. You just
Now I
memorized
wanna
that stuff
create,
this
like-
morning. You don't know it.
Yeah.
Now I want to create like a, you know, like you get like PhD or MHD or whatever, like at the end when you become a doctor or lawyer, just have the wizards have a card that has that on it, or like letters are addressed to like something along the lines of Esquire or something that shows that they
Yeah.
went to wizarding school. And you're,
Exactly.
I could totally see that. Ah,
So
you're
good.
so funny.
Yeah, like I think about like druids, for example. Like, is every druid magical, or like are there lowercase common druids? Like is there like druidic circles of people who like just have like beliefs in nature, and then there are druids, and same with clerics. Like not everyone who works at every temple and is a follower has cleric powers, right? So like that's where it's like it gets very interesting to me how actually like, I try to play D&D as if the people in the world don't have the D&D players guide, and like and I have to like think about it how they would talk about it in the world. So I try to have a little bit more of a like in universe way of talking about magic and stuff like that. But it does end up, I think I've lost that battle, and I think I end up having just to say what the powers are. I'm like, oh, he's a bard, but yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Just, to keep it easy and fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Mailbag 3 from the Archive 2023.
Ooh.
Grand Mistress Kimmy and the Gamers of Legend.
Really like reverential
I
3
know,
emails. Did you
right?
pick these on purpose because you just needed to be gassed up this week?
I honestly don't really read the greeting very often. I usually kind of like scan for like, oh, this is about this, or read them and try and clump them based on
There's the
stuff.
4th email says, "Dear Queen of the Universe, and she who all
What?
those tremble, all will love you in despair." I don't understand.
What?
I promise I didn't edit them. They're all sick. I think it's because both of you are kind of like two of my like D&D type experts. So I pulled those types of emails.
Yeah.
And I think the people who wrote in about that just were in like the vibe of D&D-esque things when they wrote in, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a coincidence. I'm sorry. I don't hate it,
I think
though.
it's funny.
Yeah, it's very funny.
All right.
We've actually we've both actually entered into a Warlock Patron pact with Kimmy, and the power is we agree to be on the show, and the power is we get to be on the show.
Yeah. There
Yes,
you
that's
go.
it. And we get Eldritch Blast. We have one
Yeah,
spell
that
and it's
too.
Eldritch Blast. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah, I'll pay up for that later.
Yeah.
Arrya from New Jersey here, and I decided to answer your call for emails. I recently took the advice from a previous email to try and run a game at my friendly local gaming store, and I have to say it's been a rewarding experience. I took over a campaign from one of the store employees, running a pre-written 5e Dragonlance campaign, and the players have been wonderful and, even more importantly, reliable. It turns out when you're paying to be there, you make it a priority to show up. However, the campaign is winding down, and I'm in the works to plan their next one. I'm not a fan of pre-written adventures, so I'm doing a homebrew setting. I want to try a more character-focused, driven campaign, so I thought that doing a city one rather than an exploration one could be a good way to encourage a character-driven story. I created a city and gave it some conflict, and then I plan to start with the game of the...
So you didn't screen these ahead of time, huh? You didn't pitch it out because they were. What did they start? What did they start with?
No,
Timmy, what did they start with?
the Emmy winning RPG tool Decima, but I never really ran a city campaign. I would be curious if you have any advice on how it might differ than the typically fantasy murder hobo game. Stay jacking, Arrya from New Jersey. P.S. Thank you, Kimmy, for giving a platform to a diverse set of hosts.
And thank you for being so beautiful and powerful and a role model to all children. P.S. Starscape is the greatest game ever created. This is Kimmy, why did you...
Okay, so to be fair, I don't always pre-read the archive ones because, like, we've read them on the show already, so they've already been screened and they're safe. Like, I don't do the read of, like, oh, it's got racist bullshit in it, but, like...
I saw that before you got to it, and I was like, I cannot wait till she gets to this.
I read it as you were reading it and was like, oh.
Okay, all right, cool. Okay.
As soon as I saw Annie, I'm like, this is going to be so great.
We're just gonna make
city campaigns. How do you run a city campaign and make it about the characters?
I love this. Vixie, you seem like you had thoughts, so I don't want to jump in. You seem like you had a thing.
Oh no,
to say,
please
so.
continue. I can wait.
I think city campaigns are so fun because you can like really create like NPCs that have like it's so frustrating in like a traveling type campaign when you have really fun NPCs and then it's like, well, see you never again. And like, so it's really fun so this summer, okay, I know that I do play other games but D&D, but this summer I ran Tomb of Annihilation for 10 weeks with a bunch of kids, and we had kids leave and come back over the course of that time, and like some kids stayed through, some kids only played for a week. And so what we did was for the first 5 weeks, we reset every week in the town of Port Nianzaru and like worked our way out from there. And so I had a fun little roster of the characters that were like recognized in the city that like players could go back to and like were excited to take their friends to go see. Like I had I may have mentioned it on the show before, but like a player made up did like I know a guy kind of move and created a baker named Cupcake, and Cupcake became like it was an orc who had won so many baking challenges that he had like tattoos all over his body of different like dishes he had baked, and he like, oh, I won, I destroyed in the Waterdeep baking competition with this cupcake here. This was a peanut butter and jelly based, and like that kind of thing. And so it became like a thing. And I feel like when you make a city campaign, you really have the freedom to do that. You have the freedom to continue to like meet characters that are going to become important as the story goes on. You can like thread in things. You can make characters that might be like seemingly unimportant NPCs early on, but as the story goes on, you might find out they've been working in this like secret organization, or they've been building up things as the story goes on. And like based on just how much importance the players give them. Like the more players that they like, the more energy the players put into a character, the more you know how good they're going to come back. So you can be like, you get to build like the leadership of the town. You get to build familiar locations. The same reason why like TV shows used to always have like, here's the bronze. Here's the set that we've already built that we can come back to and save money by filming there on a regular basis. Like as a DM, you get to like save like creative time by having a familiar space that the players know and can be familiar with. It's a place they can store their stuff. It's why D&D has added the bastions aspect to their game of like, now you have this one cool location where you can like build up and have like your base of operations. So I think city campaigns are really fun for that. So it's a lot more world building, but it isn't really, because you're just world building in the same spot. And it's the biggest challenge is trying to think of like a story that impacts a city more than it impacts like the world per se.
You know, it's interesting too, because for me, as soon as I saw character focused and driven, yes, you can do a city, like a city focused campaign, but I also think you can have the same kind of character focus and drive in an exploration campaign. It
Yeah.
just depends on how you structure it, because I think when most people think of explorations, like especially in like games like D&D, or like even Daggerheart, sometimes we think of like this open sandbox situation similar to what we see in video games, where you can just go to different, like Ocarina of Time, for example, where you can just go to a bunch of different places, and there is like a sort of loose plot, but like you don't have to like find out what it is. You can just explore forever. And I think that when you're doing something that's more character focused, and driven, you're focusing on the story behind each of these characters. So the big thing for me is get them to invest in the world. So I have a campaign that I run for beginners, for people who are starting D&D, called the Archivist Library, and that actually is a homebrew setting that I have, and I actually set it in the Domains of Delight. So starting small with like a small like world building in a small on a small scale makes things really easy, because now you have this exploration within like a kind of contained space, and you can plan out cities within that space. So like they started off in a city called Morrowood, and there's like a city to the north and a city in the other direction, and whatever, like there's places they can go, but you as the GM have the ability to kind of guide them where they need to go. It's just there's a way to do that without railroading as well. So I don't necessarily think that you have to stay in one city, but you can focus on that city, like make that where are they from there? Why did they, like, are they going there? Why are they going there? Is it like New York? Do they want, like, are they planning on becoming a Broadway actor? Goals along those lines that are intertwined with the city will help kind of build that. And I always find that like the more invested you can get your players in a location, regardless of whether it's like a whole world or like a city in that sense, um, the better off you'll be, because your players will give you more to work with and
Yeah.
more to invest in your sessions. Like
Yeah.
more to like for you, more material for you to write your sessions with. Because I tend to like, yes, I create a world and a world structure, but at the end of the day, like I'm not the only one telling the story. And the more I learn about people's characters and how they want to interact with the world, the more I can kind of craft the world to fit that
Yeah.
and give them something to play with and give them like sort of the arc that they want with their characters. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like what sits at the core of doing something that's more character focused and driven, you
Yeah.
know?
And you can do that with a pre-written campaign or a homebrew campaign. That's what's great about it.
Exactly.
Like if you're running a pre-written game, I think a really smart move early on is to, when you're building like the intro to the campaign, whether it's pre-written or homebrew, if you're putting the characters in a scenario, I think it's good early on to kind of ask them, why are they in that scenario? Like, what is the character's reason for being there? Because it gives you already what the player is thinking of for the character, and it also gives you immediately a way to introduce them to the game in a way that they're going to care about. Like I just did that with, I'm running for my older kids right now, I'm running Eva Vecna, and the beginning of the game has this like
Ooh.
kidnapping plot, and like if you just play it as written, they're at the home of Lord Neverember, and he's like, these people are kidnapped, go find out why. And like that's like cool if you're playing like a, it starts at level 10. If you've been playing a campaign till level 10, maybe the characters are already invested in the world. If you're starting at level 10, instead I went, here's all these people, tell me why your character knows them, how do they know them, and like what's your connection to them. And we actually like spent like a half hour going around and just having people like name these characters, like why they, like what their connection with them was and what they were, and then I like role played them looking for these characters in a given day and discovering they're missing, and then they all converge on this kidnapping plot. And like similarly, like I did like at the beginning of Tyranny Dragons with the there's like a caravan that they're all in before they arrive at the first city. And I'm like, why is your character on this caravan? Like, what is happening in their life right now? Like, what do they do? And like that gives me things of like, now I know this is where this character is and like what matters to them, and I can build plots around that. And like you said, the thing, Vixie, about like it gives you the ability to like know what matters to them to build into it. It also gives you the ability like later on down the line to be like, oh, this is a great idea for a story that I can do now because this character gave me this nugget of information that like now
Yep.
months later I can make like part of it. It's so like I had a character in my summer campaign who his character had committed regicide. He had killed the king of this like domain of delight in the Feywild. And so a bunch of times throughout the campaign, when I just needed like to kill an extra hour of game, I would have like troops from this Feywild domain arrive through a portal and looking for his character. And like, how does he escape from them? They
Yeah.
offered him like a deal. If you do this thing that's part of the campaign, maybe we'll absolve you of your crimes. And then he didn't do that. So his very last week, I ended up doing like a big thing where there was like a full siege where these like soldiers were there and trying to capture him. And like, it gave his character a fun send off because
Yeah.
now he got his storyline he was invested in was how he left, as opposed to just like, oh, you finished the campaign story and that's the end of it. Like,
Yeah. I
Yep.
think one of the things that's really important with city type campaigns is having a difference of experience like that. Like having one character who knows their way around a little bit at least. Like it can be fun to have them all kind of like fish out of water new to the city. But I like the variety when there's someone who's had experience there. Maybe that person is even like really connected and grew up there and maybe can go visit the king. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then there's like the country mouse in the city who's like, oh my goodness, the buildings are so big. I've never seen, you know, I love like the kind of dichotomy of that. The person who maybe is like wanted there and like, wow, yeah, this is an interesting place. I've never been here before. And like having those different experiences, and there's a bunch more you can do, contrast with each other can add so many interesting dynamics for you as a GM that have nothing to do with any of the stuff you have to plan. Like just weaving those in together and having, the two of them, oh, I've never been here before. And the one who's, oh, I've never been here before, like legit hasn't been there before, walking around. Oh, how'd you know to come this way? Oh, wow, this is like the best food in the city. That's amazing that we just happened to find this.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, just all these different things that can really play off each other and create a lot of drama and tension and character discovery of one another and bonding and trust issues, which I'm always a fan of in games. That happen even before you start actually throwing like a plot out in front of them for them to discover.
Yeah.
And when you plan a city, one of the coolest things about it is you can plan it in layers like a cake.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like there's like the lower city and like the those sort of things, and then there's like the upper echelons and just like, and it sounds like you already kind of did this with them, but having all those kind of winding passages that are all in such a small contained area can really just it's such a just a wealth of you're kind of spoiled as a GM for that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
suddenly it's like, oh, the king's coming through town right next to, where you know the den of thieves is. Oh no. Like suddenly all these things are all in this very small space together, and it's just great.
Yes.
I think doing the Powered by Apocalypse thing too, of letting the characters describe parts of the city, like the players that like their character is familiar with, and then being like, okay, the things they're saying I'm going to take as true, and I'm going to build the city around the thing. Because like if you're having people play people who are familiar with a city or like an area of a city, trust them to be able to help you build the world, and they might give you
Yes.
something cool you never would have thought of. Yeah.
Well, and then to build on that point, I actually pulled this from when I ran the Wild Sea. They have something in the book where you and your table can create foods that are specific to the places that you visit.
Oh, I like that.
And so we like I went to my group and I was like, all right, what is this place known for? Like they don't have like the characters themselves don't have to know. It's just something fun for the players to think about. And I think at the time it was some kind of fried slug. Like it was like on a stick. That was like a specialty of the place that they were going to. And so like they would see signs for it advertised everywhere. It becomes like kind of a part of the environment, and it's a fun way to get players invested because now like, hey, we made this thing, we got to like, do you love it, do you want to try it, like what's your
Yeah.
opinion on it? You know, it's a great way to like get them to start asking these kinds of in character questions. You know, but and those are like fun small things you can do as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and like the sensory experience, because something else that the Wild Sea encourages you to do is using the five senses to describe the setting.
Yes.
Like, what are the
Oh.
smells? What do you see? What do you hear? Like, what are you surrounded by or immersed by when you enter this area or this space? So that's definitely something that you can think about as a GM as well.
Yeah. When you start setting things in like a central location too, you can have fun with things like holidays and how the city celebrates
Yeah.
certain events. And then that gives you the freedom of being like, oh, this festival is happening. And that gives you activities they can be doing, or it can give them like intrigue of things that are going on because of that festival happening. And that makes the world feel so much more lived in and real, because like now there's like things that matter to the people that exist in the story.
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
exactly.
Cool. Well, Arya, we gave you some advice before. I don't remember if it was as good as this, but this is pretty good advice. So yeah,
Almost as good as the advice you'll find in the Emmy-winning
Oh,
RPG game Deckham.
there's no advice in that. It's not an advice yet. Okay. But yeah, that would be great to hear like how you did and what you're
Yeah.
doing. All right. Thank you for joining us for season 36, episode 10 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. Please support our indie designer of the month, Ross Payton, at patreon.com/rppr. Thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their amazing ranks and fill out your survey if you're already supporting us at happyjacks.org/Patreon. Do your homework, friends. All right. Sorry. That was very aggressive. I apologize. My name is Kimmy.
Homework.
Not the homework. I actually am super against homework in real life as a teacher. So,
Same.
My name is Kimmy. She, her. You can find my games at goldenlassogames.com. I'm here most Saturdays for this show, and I'm also here right now on Tuesday nights for our Road to Nowhere Electric State campaign, which is wrapping up, and I will be GMing something after that. I don't know what yet. Stay tuned. I'm sure it'll be great. I don't know. Okay. Go
My
ahead.
name is Riley. You can find me on the Blue Sky and the Instagram at Riley Silverman. She, her pronouns for me as well. I have a couple of writing things you can support. First of all, you can pick up my Doctor Who audio drama at Big Finish Audio Productions. It is part of the Tales from the Vortex of the Short Trips series. Also, I have a short story that is in the Stars and Sabers collection. It's like of Dead, Decay, and Doom, I think. I never get the order right. Of Dead, Decay, and Dread, possibly. But it is going to be coming out sometime next year. It is going to be funded through Ko-fi, so please check that out. Also, I now have a new one. I have my first ever comic writing that is going to be part of an anthology called Horror Not Hate. It is about to launch on Kickstarter soon, so keep an eye on my Blue Sky. I will share that once it is active. There is a link in one of my Kickstarter, like one of my Blue Sky posts, but once it's active, I'll be sharing it more. But it is the beginning of a novel that I've had in my head for about 5 or 6 years now that I've had no place to put. And so I wrote a little bit excerpt from the novel into a very 10-page comic that I'm excited to see my work in comic form for the very first time. And
I
so I'm
love
excited
that.
about that. And that is me for this time.
So cool.
Oh, that means it's my turn, isn't it? Oh no. What's my name again? Hey everybody, my name is Bixie Bell, and I've been your friendly neighborhood Happy Jacker here at Kimmy's table. Happy to be here, and you can find me all over the internet over at Bixie Bell or over at the Pocket Dragon Pub, where I run, play, and produce games. And you can actually find me back here on Happy Jacks every Saturday, where I run Pirates of Dark Water. If you are familiar with the cartoon, yes, it is exactly what you're thinking, where we have a
Yes.
ragtag group of pirates that are finally finishing the stinking show because the show left me on a cliffhanger, and I have feelings about it, so we're gonna finish it. And we are getting rid of Darkwater from Mer for good. Thank you very much. But yeah, and currently, I'm actually heading over to PAX Unplugged up in Philadelphia, God willing. Flights are provided for everyone, but but yeah, so and I'm actually really excited because we are having hosting my very first BIPOC mixer and inviting
Ooh.
BIPOC creators in the space to join us for a Gatsby themed party over at Midnight and the Wicked, which is a
Nice.
local 1920s themed bar near the convention center where the convention is held. And yeah, I'm super excited to spotlight BIPOC creators. We have a whole host of sponsors, and I'll be doing other events aside from that, but that's the big one that I'm the most excited about. There's a couple of other. I'll be running games, and actually, I'm running my first access game, my first accessible game with the PTI Access Library. I'll be running Honey Heist there, so I'm super excited.
Nice. Love
It'll be
nice.
my first time GMing with captions and with accessibility tools, so I'm a little nervous. But they assured me that they're gonna walk us through like how these things work, so it'll be less confusing for me as a GM, and and we won't create any craziness there. But yeah, I'm super excited about that. Yeah. So, and that's everything I've
Amazing.
got coming up. So for
Yeah.
everything else, find me on socials. Yeah.
Cool. You'll have to share with me how they do the captions, because I have yet to
Yes.
find. We've tried a bunch of different captioning softwares, and they all just get so confused when the people are sitting in the same room together.
Yeah.
It ends up like a jumbled
Yes.
mess, since we actually have an in-person studio. But if they have figured that out, please tell me their secrets.
I will let you know. Because
Amazing.
when they said that, I was like, okay.
Okay, great.
You
It's
know,
amazing.
sounds good. Yep.
Yeah. All right,
So-
cool. Also, oh, sorry, did I cut you off? Do you have anything else?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay.
That's it.
You're
That's all I had to
You're
say.
fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Join us same time-ish next week, 6 p.m.-ish Pacific time. We're going to leave you with a song this week. It's called Side Quest. It sounded apropos for our theme tonight. And it is performed
It's
by
called
our...
the hymn to the Queen. Himmy?
It's called Side Quest, and it's by our friends at the Dread Crew of Oddwood. You can find their music at thedreadcrewofoddwood.com. Don't forget the. It's a thing, and I think they actually are just wrapping up a tour or something. They
Ooh.
it's great to live pirate life. Like, it's very cool. So thank you all, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Hail Kimmy.
Say, "Help, Kimmy."